Hello, and welcome to basically just me talking for however many minutes. Got my coffee, just had a shower, and ready to fucking party. Alrighty. So, I wanted to do something like this for a little while now. Just sort of talk, get my thoughts out. You know, just chill out, relax for a bit. Let's have a conversation. Well, as much as I can anyways. So I have some notes, just some random stuff that I want to talk about. And just get my thoughts out about what's going on. So, let's have this on in the background, whatever you're doing. Just sit back and relax. So, first thing I kind of I want to spend most of this video just talking about school stuff, really. Been having a lot of, I don't want to say issues, but just a lot of concerns, I guess. Because for those who don't know, I guess I'm currently graduating high school this year, and I'm moving on to college. So that's always a fun time. Just want to have this up just a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so just wanted to start with just sort of talking about like how basically I've heard nothing from anybody about anything. Like I have heard some stuff here and there, but for the most part it's mostly just been pretty quiet from everybody. Because pretty much I've heard nothing from my guidance counselors. They've been mostly focusing on talking about specific schools as opposed to like actually talking about what we need to do. Because as far as I'm aware, with my school anyways, I have to have transcript in by a certain date. But thing is though is I don't know how to get it. I don't know if I'm doing it or if my school's doing that. I don't know, because I know they've sent out our midterm marks for this semester to basically all the schools, but as far as I'm aware I haven't heard anything about, say, for the rest of the year and how that's gonna go. From my future school, like college, I guess, that I'm going to be going to, I haven't heard anything from them recently. Well, actually, no, I have. I've basically gotten how much I owe them for the term, which is probably the most useful information that I've gotten from them. But at the same time, I've also gotten, basically, I've only gotten one other notice saying that all my classes are going to be in the classroom, right? Because due to COVID and everything, like a lot of schools are planning to go online. But I know for my course, which is a film studies course, they're going to be having pretty much everything in the classroom, which is good. But yeah, basically those are the only two things I've heard of, or I've heard from my school that I'm going to be going to. I haven't heard anything from when my classes actually start. And then for basically what is called OSAP, which is basically sort of like this student loan thing that my government does. Pretty much, like, I've been going through everything with them, but I haven't really heard anything. Like, not anything from them, basically, on how much I would be getting, like, how much money I would be getting from them, and I don't know, like, what I'm gonna do with that. because they said I won't be seeing any money until 5 to 10 days 5 to 10 days before all my studies. So that's sort of interesting, but considering the fact that I have to have money in by a certain date for this term, but I don't know when my classes are starting, it's sort of just like, well, would I have the money in time, right? But one thing that I do want to say is that with everything that's been going on with COVID and with all the government money that I've sort of been getting, I will be able to, if I need to, pay for this term in case I don't get any government money from any student loan money from my province, which is good. But another thing that I've just sort of concerned about. It was funny because my school sort of released this video from each student a student representative from all the high schools in my area. And it was nice, it was whatever. But it was just sort of funny because, because as of right now, as someone who's graduating this year and someone who's planning on leaving and someone who still has basically very little information, it's sort of just like, well, I don't really want to hear from student representatives. I want to hear from guidance counselors, administrative staff. I want to hear, what the plan is, what's going on, what do I need to do, right? But, not much you can do about that, right? What else do I have here? Oh, yeah. Yearbook. That's fun. For anybody who doesn't know, I am one of the 2 chief editors of the yearbook. Basically what that means is, I'm sort of to make it simple, my teacher's the boss, and then myself and this other person are sort of the managers, and then we have editors for each section of the yearbook, so it's the supervisors, and then everyone else in the class are sort of general staff, right? So I'm sort of on the hierarchy a little bit, and I've just sort of, it's been going alright with that, but at the same time I've just been going through it a lot, and I sort of had my concerns here and there about stuff, right? Because a lot of stuff isn't getting finished a whole lot, in my opinion, at least. Because certain pages look good, but at the same time, a lot of things can be changed or tightened up or just finished in general. But that's been progressing pretty well, honestly. But I've just been wanting to make sure that gets done, right? Of course, it's not just, I make it sound like I'm in charge of the whole thing, kind of, but it's just, I don't know, I'm a bit of a workhorse, I guess. So it's just sort of going. So it's just if I'm seeing something that's not really getting done, but I would like to work on and I would like to finish, but I know I can't work on the whole book, right? Which is whatever, right? But I'm just hoping that everything will get finished before we have to send it off to get it all printed. Alright. But so thoughts on students leaving high school. Honestly, personally, I guess just my general thoughts on leaving high school, I personally kind of feel okay about it for the most part. It's just sort of one of those things where it's you gotta do it, right? But at the same time, I do have, I'm just really concerned about not hearing from anybody, not knowing what's going on, especially now, right? Whereas I assume probably in previous years it's been like, okay, so you need to do this in order to do this, and then you do this, and then you send papers and money over to this place and all of that. But as of right now, everyone's sort of up in the air, and no one wants to say or do anything because they don't know what's going on. It sort of sucks for at least myself anyways, because I've heard very little about anything. So I don't know what to do. Oh yeah, and also just looking back on my own high school experience, I mean, it was okay. It wasn't really like, I don't know, like it was just sort of meh. Looking back on it right now, at least. So it was like grade 9, didn't really do much, just worked and just sort of worked on my school projects and did what I had to do, and that was that. Grade 10, I did actually join my technical theater class, and that was fun. And then I started taking that all throughout the rest of my years in high school, which was really fun. Really liked that class. Met a lot of nice people in that class. But at the end of the day, it was still just come to school, do your work, maybe talk to a few people, head home, basically do nothing. Grade 11, pretty much the same thing. Having the occasional like work, having the occasional having like the occasional show to work on for my tech theater class. Those were always fun to do, right? Working on lighting and sound and all that fun stuff. But yeah, so basically that's sort of how that hierarchy worked. Sort of having 201s, and then 301s, and then 401s, and then my teacher. And I sort of worked my way up that ladder. And it was really fun. Really liked that class. I always had fun times teaching and learning about a whole bunch of cool stuff and doing the shows. Those were always fun to do. But yeah, so then grade 11, it really wasn't much. Again, it was just go to class, do what you gotta do, and then have a bit of fun. And then this year was pretty interesting. First semester had, I was working in the technical theater class as well as my, as well as the grade 11 and 12 acting class. I was doing tech for that, and that was fun. It was really fun, actually. Had a lot of good times with that. Sort of with the acting class, we were setting up sets and taking care of props and sound and lighting and whatnot. Yeah, had a lot of fun with that, and had a lot of fun with that, and just sort of put on a lot of good shows. It was nice. Towards the end of the semester there, we had a whole bunch of performances and everything that I helped out with, which was nice. Really fun to do, actually. And then in this semester, I guess, semester 2, had yearbook, which was fun. It was really fun. But then sort of had some issues with that. Coming into March, basically March 13th, I believe, the day before March break, everybody was gone due to our government shutdown for COVID-19. And then St. Patrick's Day, which I think was on the 17th this year. Yeah, it was on the 17th. St. Patrick's Day, less than a week later, I basically got laid off of work. So it was fun. Dangly. There we go. Hopefully that should be a little bit better. But, yeah. Where was it? Oh yeah, work. Pretty much, yeah, I got laid off of work there because I figured, oh yeah, March break, you can get a couple more shifts in, get a little bit more money, and all that before I leave for school. Yeah, no, that didn't happen. But yeah, oh yeah, also yeah, working at the bowling alley, that's been really fun. There was a lot of times I both screwed up and hadn't faced a lot of challenges. I had gone into, because I think it was in grade 10 or 11. 11, because I was 16. Yeah, 2018, so it would have been grade 11. Yeah, because it was fall of 2018. Yeah, so it would have been grade, so it would start in grade 11. And I went in there as a, what we call a back mechanic, because basically I came in there and so I worked at my local bowling alley, which was really fun, and I got in as a back mechanic, started off as a back mechanic, which basically meant that I was fixing the lanes, I was resetting pins, and I was getting ball returns and all of that. Now, lanes that I was working on were what we call freefall machines, which are basically just like the machine takes the pins, they go through the machine, and then they get all loaded up, and then the machine puts them down, and then that's it. They're loose and they're just sit there until someone hits them. But what was really annoying with these machines is that they were just so old, right? Because they had let's say around 30 years old, I think it was. We had them basically ever since the place opened, we had them basically ever since the place opened, and they weren't well maintained at all. They just were they were practically falling apart. They broke down. You could have a good, say I worked a 5-hour shift, they would probably break down at least 20 to 30 times in a shift. It was bad. We had about, let's see, because we have 32 machines total. 8 of them were string pins, so that leaves 24. 24? Yeah, 24 freefall machines, which were the ones that always gave us trouble. And those were our freefall 10-pin machines, and we also had the 8 5-pin. So then we had the freefall machines that were breaking down just constantly, just all the time. You would just get calls and calls and calls on the speakers just saying that, yeah, this lane's broken, this lane's not doing something, and we need to have this fixed on this lane and everything. And yeah, we would probably have at least around 2 to 3 guys sitting in the back just waiting for something to break all the time. Just every single day we would have just a million things, and then you leave and then you come back the next day and then it'd be oh yeah, this thing's broken, this needs to be fixed, and this and this and this and all that. As well as we also had to oil and buff all the lanes. That's pretty okay. It's a pretty okay job once you know what you're doing. Because I remember what we had to do is we had to basically just take the oiling machine. You had to fill up the oiling machine, which was pretty alright. And then you had to set it up. You had to go and plug it in. You had to set it on the lane, and then you had to hit the buttons, and then you got to send it down, and then it'll come back. And then with buffing, it was pretty simple. It's just plug it into an outlet, and then make sure you get your lane spray. You spray the lane down, basically what we call the approach, which is the part that you walk on. And then you spray it down, and then you buff it with the buffing machine, which is basically just this machine that has this I want to say it's a felt pad, I don't know, had like this like pad underneath it, and then rotate it every time you like hold the. And then every time like you used it, you had to like hold these two paddles together, or else like if you let go, then the machine just stopped. And oh god, it was kind of annoying to use just because it had because like the way you had to do it was like if you push up, then it went left, and if you pulled down, then it would go right. So like you're trying to do this, and it's going that way and all over the place, and it was just, I get used to it after a while, but it's just kind of annoying every now and then. And then in summer of last year, we got these brand new machines that were never installed in Canada before this. We were first in Canada to have these 10-pin string machines. So now everything that we had was on string, 5-pin and 10-pin. And this, as of right now, still is basically practically unheard of. Because like a lot of people are looking into it, but like not a lot of people have actually implemented it. Like I said, we were the first in Canada, which is pretty neat. And they were a godsend. Like they just worked so much better. Like way less breakdowns. We had like a new lighting system with them. We could do a whole bunch of cool stuff with. Like it was amazing. The issue with that though is that since we had, what was it? I think it was either like 4 or 5 guys on staff, that we had, including myself, to fix these lanes, right? But now they weren't breaking down practically ever, right? Like they never really broke down all that much, just because, well, you know, had all these issues. We had like all these issues before, but now we had. Yeah, before we had all these issues, but now we just had basically just this, like these perfect machines, basically, just to have like, yeah, we had these perfect machines, and they just worked perfectly. Like by the end of it, like we could just have, like by the time we had everything installed, we could literally have nobody standing in the back, and we could spend like a whole night. Like we have like a really busy night, and everything would work fine, and they were good. But since then I wasn't needed in the back anymore, I got pushed up to the front counter, and I basically had been working at the front counter pretty much for a good few months before March then, when everything was done, basically. And I haven't heard anything from my work saying like, you know, here's what we're doing, this is what's going on, and all that. Just because I guess nobody knows what we're doing, right? No one knows what the heck can go on. And yeah, like I've just been sitting here chilling ever since, really. I mean, yeah, but it was okay, really. Oh yeah, and also I saw there had a note about valedictorian vote and graduation. That's a fun topic, because pretty much I'm not gonna be here for graduation, because I'm going up to a city that's, I'd say, at least like 5, 6, maybe 8 hours away, and we're having our graduation on the 30th of October. Yeah, and so basically, like, my guidance people, or like the guidance counselors at my school, I've just been talking about specific scenarios for different schools, which is not good, because A, you can't cover what every school is planning on doing, and B, they're not really focusing on, okay, so here's what we need to do, and like they're not focusing on, okay, here's what you should do if you have already applied, and here's how you get the information that you need in order to get it to like the school that you're going to be going to, right? Like, it's sort of just like, instead of general information that could be useful to everybody, it's mostly just been like, okay, if you're going to this school, do this. If you're going to this school, do this. And obviously they haven't said anything about my school yet, which is, you know, I kind of expected that, because they haven't said anything, because the school hasn't said anything themselves either. But I mean, hey, what can you do? Which is, yeah, it's just kind of frustrating, because, you know, we've just been here, not really being told anything. Not really being told, hey, here's what you need to do. Here's why you need to do it. Here's how you go about doing it, and, you know, all that, right? Like, just no information about anything. Which kind of sucks, but, you know, what can you do? But I mean, yeah, it's been pretty alright so far. I'm hoping I can do, like, some videos like this for a little while. You know, maybe start just, like, a little bit, like, you know, keep this as, like, a consistent podcast going on, you know. I'll see what I can do, or see what I can set up once I actually get to school. Because also, which I need to apply for residence soon. It's also something I need to get taken care of. But, yeah. It's also funny because the program that I'm going to, it's only for 2 years, not like a traditional like 4-year course, right? So once I'm done those 2 years, effectively spending half the time at school that like a lot of people would be spending, instead of taking 4 years and being able to figure everything out, I gotta get everything sorted out within 2 years of what the heck I'm gonna be doing once I leave school. Excuse me. So, yeah, honestly, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. I have no idea how I'm gonna do it. But I need to figure out something quick, or else shit's gonna hit the fan real quick. Oh yeah, and also just having a whole bunch of so I don't know how I want to go about this, because I sort of have like this sort of issue with like this certain day and age, I guess, when like nobody can separate facts from like their own personal opinion. Because like, it really does feel like these days people just can't objectively look at a scenario and then focus on the facts and see what's going on. Just like everybody seems to like be playing some sort of identity politics with everything, and oh my, it doesn't click with me. And maybe I'm the weird one, but it's just sort of like it just sort of feels that, you know, like everybody's can't just factually look at a scenario. Like, everyone has to twist it to fit their own narrative, which is not good for anybody, because like no one's able to just say like, hey, this is what happened, this is the reason why, and that, and this and this and that. No, everyone has to go ahead and say like, oh no, like they're doing this because they support this, and they're evil because they do this and this and this, where it's just like okay, why does that matter? Why does it matter that they're evil because they don't see the same things that you do? You know? And I just don't get just like all these petty politics, because like, God, I just hate politics in general, if I'm being honest, because it's just sort of like, well, if you don't, because like it's just sort of like, I don't know, I just don't see it as anything useful. It's basically just like everyone pays a handful of people to act like children for a day, and then they make millions, and then just like and they just get paid like big sums of money to just then you just get paid like big sums of money to just scream at each other and basically just not do anything. Anything that does get done basically just gets reverted anyways when the next person gets in power. So it's just sort of, I don't know, it just sort of seems kind of pointless, if I'm being honest. Because it's just like, oh yeah, sure, let's sit here and argue about everything, not do anything, but everyone's still just gonna keep going. Basically, like everyone's just gonna keep this system going because, well, it's the best thing we got. And the best thing we got is grown adults acting like children to make themselves look good, as opposed to actually helping the people that they're supposed to lead and protect. No one wants to do that. Everyone just wants to make themselves look good for whatever reason. Just kind of sad. But it's the world we live in, I guess. Yeah, I have no idea how often I'm planning on doing this, but I'm hoping to maybe keep it going for a good little while anyways. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, yeah, that's my whole 2 cents on the world, so see how that goes. I don't have like a strict schedule or anything that like I'm gonna be posting these. I'm just gonna probably just keep posting these whenever. Just whenever something either big happens or something is sort of just just whenever I feel like it, basically. Just whenever I feel like I need to have a chat. Right. So I mean, yeah. That's pretty much it. Yeah, so. Well, see you guys next time. Hope you have a good day. Hopefully this kept you entertained for a little while anyways. Alright. And yeah. See you in the next one. Bye.